The United States presidential elections took place in November of last year. This event reminded me of the 2020 US elections, when with the growing political tension inside and outside the country, the COVID-19 pandemic and the breathtaking rivalry between the two major parties, which has only become more fierce with the current circumstances, this election had everyone's attention on who would become the new president. But we won't talk about that today, simply because I don't want the comment box to become a battleground. Today we will talk about one of the other candidates, the candidate of the birthday party. Yes, we are talking about Kanye West, famous for being famous, being one of the most influential and important producers and rappers of our generation, marrying Kim Kardashian, uploading a video urinating on a Grammy Award, having a strange rivalry with Taylor Swift, and running for president. He obviously didn't win. In fact, he only received 0.038% of the total voters, with barely 60,000 votes in his favor. But had he won, what would be the outlook for the United States and the world, having its first rapper president? What could we expect? Beyond the universe's most brutal remix to the US national anthem, of course. Before we talk about the weird future where a rapper controls one of the most powerful armies on planet Earth, we need to talk about why that didn't happen. I won't say it won't happen eventually, because I honestly don't know the future. And while I think it's highly unlikely he'll win the next election, stranger things have been seen. But West's campaign was so bizarre and unorganized that there was no way he was going to get enough votes. Literally. He was not in time to apply for ballot access in 29 states, and in 9 others his applications were denied. So even if by some miracle he were elected in the few states where he did manage to apply and be accepted, it wouldn't have been enough for the presidency. Beyond that, his appearances have been rare at best. You see, West suffers from bipolar disorder, a disorder that causes emotional ups and downs, ranging from depressive disorders to manic episodes. This is not necessarily a disabling illness. There are many people who are completely functional and normal while suffering from this disorder, aided by medication and close attention to changes in their mood, sleep cycles, diet, or stress. The problem here is that Kanye West has said publicly that he does not take medication for this disorder, and that can sometimes affect him very negatively. Specifically, at his launch as a candidate in South Carolina, West appeared wearing a bulletproof vest with the number 2020 shaved into his head, and in his speech he jumped from topic to topic until he started talking in tears about abortion. The next day, he accused Kim Kardashian of wanting to hospitalize him and called her a white supremacist as part of a public meltdown he had on Twitter. Then, his wife had to make a pronouncement about West's mental state. So, after making that first impression in his run for president, it's not so surprising that he didn't get as many votes. Beyond his interesting background on Twitter, there is the problem of his political position. Among his ideas, we find some leftist or liberal traits, such as support for the Black Lives Matter movement or his interest in improving education. But as has been seen time and time again, Kanye West is conservative. He even said that if Trump had not been running, he would be affiliated with the Republican Party. And the image he gives is quite conservative, especially with his support for Trump. As such, the problem is not in his policies, but in that his demographic, that is, the people who follow him, his fans, are young. And overwhelmingly, the youth of the United States lean toward a liberal or left-leaning political position, which means that the support he might expect from the people who follow him simply isn't there. Because while many of them might like his music, they probably won't like his politics. Aside from the fact that in one of his Twitter meltdowns, he mentioned that vaccines are the mark of the beast, and that humans with the devil in them want to microchip people so they can go to hell, and that to avoid COVID, you have to pray and stop doing the things that bother God instead of listening to modern medicine. I will clarify that not all of his policies sound like they were written by an ex-preacher lost in the world of hard drugs, but the fact that there is even that much to clarify should be reason enough to understand why he never even came close to taking the presidency. With that out of the way, we can talk about how funny and not so funny a presidency could be with this man at the helm. For starters, keeping up with the Kardashians, that reality TV masterpiece and proof that humanity is destined for a hollow, silicone implant-filled existence, would be revived for a run at the White House. And the Secret Service would probably find something incriminating in Taylor Swift's home to make her have to flee to Canada or face the power of the new president. Moving on now to the not so funny, The most likely scenario is that US foreign policy would collapse in a similar way to Kanye on Twitter, because the foreign perception of the country would be very unfavorable, and we know his focus is on domestic policy, so countries that were cooking up something against or to the detriment of the US would see a clear opportunity to act. Beyond that, for Kanye West to win, he would have to be in the Republican Party, and if that party didn't find anyone else qualified for the job, it means the US political system would be in big trouble. In fact, if the opposing party could not find anyone more qualified than Kanye West, many people would probably find out that the US political system no longer works, and there would likely be mass migrations to Canada and Europe. Within the United States, the rivalry between the Democratic and Republican parties would probably be heightened, which Kanye West doesn't seem to have any plans to be a unifying force. Mind you, it would be quite interesting for the rest of the world, and I would be quite interested to see how it all turns out, but probably a term in office run by that celebrity would be just as polarizing as the term in office of Donald Trump. Realistically, it is possible that his candidacy serves two purposes. On the one hand, I think Kanye West is honest in wanting to become president, and he truly feels it is part of his purpose on Earth. But on the other hand, it's an excellent marketing ploy. It's great. I'm literally making a video talking about him that's free advertising. As his campaign for the presidency was coming to an end, on October 16th, Kanye West released a new single, Na Na Na, and soon released a remix with two other rappers. That was supposed to be like the soundtrack for his presidential campaign. And it was in fact the second single from an album that came out in August 2021, called Donda. I was not surprised at all by this. He was fully taking advantage of that free publicity. So, in conclusion, it's likely that his team didn't even entertain the idea of Kanye becoming president, and just took advantage of the free marketing. Besides, I don't know how magazines and celebrity websites would react if Kim Kardashian becomes first lady, because she would be the only first lady with a filthy video uploaded on the internet. So I hope you liked this video. Like it if you did, subscribe for more interesting videos, and see you in the next video. Bye.